Welcome to the tutorial walkthrough for the SGDQ2018 tech station. This video is intended for both new and returning GDQ volunteers, as we've made significant changes and additions. Now, if you're new to volunteering, operating the tech station frequently alternates between long stretches of low activity, followed by 10 to 15 minutes of intense work. By studying this guide, you should be prepared to keep everything running smoothly during speedruns and stay organized and on the ball when it's time for setup. Volunteers on the tech station coordinate with many other groups, including other techs who oversee preparing console and audio setups, the audio station, which manages the mixer, the stream's host, who reads donations, and the producer, who will be overseeing the overall production. If you're ever unsure about how to complete a task or it's unclear what you should be prioritizing, ask your producer. For the sake of this guide, we'll assume that the previous run in the marathon has finished and you're ready to begin setup for the next run. The two major tools you'll be managing during setup are OBS Studio, our main streaming software, and the Node CG dashboard, which controls all of our stream's overlays. OBS Studio is used in studio mode, which allows us to preview scenes and set up sources before broadcasting them live. This means you'll be able to position and crop game captures before switching to that scene. You'll know that you're in studio mode by seeing two different viewports instead of one. If you don't, click on the studio mode button in the lower right. The right view shows what is currently broadcasting, while the left view previews the scene that you wish to transition to. So, once a run is complete and we wish to begin setup, we need to switch to the break scene. In order to switch scenes, select it in the scene list in the lower left, and then click Transition in the center. The break screen now appears on the right side, meaning it is now showing on stream. Now that the break scene is live and we can begin setup, we need to advance the schedule to the next run. On the Node CG dashboard, find the Schedule panel, which displays all of the info about the current run as well as the run following it. Click Next. Ensure that the run matches what should be next on the schedule, and we can start the setup checklist. The setup checklist is a panel on the Node CG dashboard which displays everything that needs to be done in order to begin the next run. We take completing these steps very seriously, and they should not be checked off without taking the proper time to verify that they're done. If each item is not checked off, you will be unable to start the timer. At the top of the checklist, you will start by checking the schedule to see if the current break will require playing advertisements or broadcasting an interview. More often than not, setup will not include either, but we'll cover what to do in case of either later on in this video. Below these two items, there are two columns separated by tasks you'll be completing yourself, and tasks that other volunteers are responsible for, but that you'll need to confirm have been completed. Here are the tasks that you'll be responsible for completing. Back on the Schedule panel, at the bottom of the run, you'll find any potential tech notes you'll need to know for the speedrun, anything out of the ordinary that might happen, or any special arrangements that need to be made beforehand. But what you'll always find is the OBS scene that you'll use for the run. With that information from the tech notes, go to OBS Studio and look at the scene list. This is a good time for us to go through what the scene list contains. The break scene, which is the scene you'll most likely be broadcasting right now. Standard 1 through 4 players, which we generally use for classic console games that output at a 4:3 aspect ratio. Widescreen 1 or 2 players, used for most PC games and modern consoles outputting at a 16:9 aspect ratio. GBA 1 or 2 players, used almost exclusively for Game Boy Advance titles since they output at a 3:2 aspect ratio. DS and 3DS, both used for these dual-screen platforms. DS Vertical, which is used only for DS titles whose gameplay requires the displays to be stacked vertically. And Game Boy, which uses a 10:9 aspect ratio for its viewport. Based on the tech notes for the next run, click on the scene that you need and it'll appear in the preview window. The next step is to get our game sources displayed. Select the proper sources in the source list, which you'll learn about during orientation. The next step is important. Do not use transform cropping. You should never need to move or resize the sources in the scene. We've developed plugins to auto-position the source to fit the size of the viewport based on the cropping. If you think you need to still make manual adjustments, consult the producer first. Do not create a duplicate scene in order to facilitate cropping. It should never be necessary to do, since we can adjust everything we need in preview mode. To set the cropping, go to the filter settings of the game source. You can select the cropping preset for the console in use. You can then adjust the cropping. Be very careful not to overcrop. When in doubt, it's better to crop too little than too much. If you want to save the preset for future games, use the Save New Preset button. In the case of races and co-op runs, you'll need to make sure that the nameplates in the layout correspond to the correct source capture. There's a rule on stage as to who sits where. Work with text to ensure that everyone is in the correct place so that you don't need to rearrange names in the schedule editor. However, there's going to be times where either due to donation incentives being met, a rare typo, or simply last-minute changes, you'll need to edit the information being displayed. To do this, go to the Schedule panel and click Edit Current. A new dialog box appears that allows you to make changes to the run's info, the runners' names, their respective Twitch channels, and taking the names and putting them in new positions. Once you make those changes and click Apply, the information will update on the main panel. Any changes made that differ from the original data in the tracker will be highlighted in green. It's very important to note, these changes are not permanent. They only stick while the run is either in the current or next display on the dashboard. If you navigate away from it and then return, your edits will be gone. However, this allows you to work ahead and make edits to the next run before it becomes time to advance it to be current. Should you need to redact any edits, click Edit again and choose Reset Data to Original. When you mouse over the button, it will show you in red which fields will be changed and what it will be changed back to. With all of this information verified and correct, we can check off this item on the checklist. Once everything is ready with the layout, you'll want to work with the producer to ensure the camera angle works to display an optimal composition of the runners and crowd, given that each layout has a different size and aspect ratio to display the camera view with. Make these changes with the camera itself. Don't resize or adjust the source within OBS. The audio tech will have a checklist of their own to complete to ensure that the stream is receiving the correct audio mix and ensure that runners and commentators can hear the game as well as each other. Once complete, you'll be given a checkmark on your dashboard. The remaining tasks on the checklist will be completed by other stage techs, but it's your responsibility to get confirmation on their completion. These tasks include wiping down headsets. Between runs, any headsets used should be cleaned before being worn again by other people. TVs have video. All runners can see their game on their monitors without any issues. Turn off Steam notifications. For all PC games using Steam, the account the player is logging into needs to have all notifications turned off so that they don't pop up on stream. Restart Elgato recording. Before the run begins, the direct recording of the game feeds is set up for uploading after the event. Remove excess chairs. Any seats from a previous run that are no longer needed should be cleared off stage. The final checklist item is to cycle recordings. This button automatically commands OBS to stop and restart the recording of the stream feed for uploading to YouTube. While this was previously done automatically, this has now been made its own step, so that when this happens is closer to the start of the next run. While it can be checked at any time in between runs, wait until the button is green, which happens when all the other checklist items have been checked, before doing so. So, our checklist is complete. Once you're confident that everything in the preview layout is correct and ready to go, and the runners are prepared to introduce their run, click the transition button to switch to the gameplay scene. At this point, the producer will want to conduct a firm go, no-go with you, the runners, and other techs. If everyone has the go-ahead and the runners are ready to start, go to the timekeeper panel and get ready to do a countdown. Now, every run is different in terms of how they prefer to start the timer. For single-player games, the runner has the option of using a foot pedal to stop and start the timer themselves, and you will not need to perform a countdown. However, keep an eye on the interface in case the player accidentally double-taps the pedal, and be ready to click Resume, just in case. For all other cases, you'll need to conduct a countdown. In most situations, the best plan is to have the couch commentator do a verbal countdown of 3, 2, 1, go. Other times, the runner will want to do the countdown themselves. And then some speedruns have situations where the start of the speedrun is determined by a moment in the game, like a certain screen appears or the moment when the player first has control. Communicate with runners beforehand about when this moment is and what their preferences are to ensure that this moment goes smoothly. In any case, press the Start button on the timekeeping interface and the run will begin. During the run, the pause button is only used during technical issues or other situations where we need to halt everything. The decision to pause is the producer's, and theirs alone. If you see an issue where a pause is needed, alert them immediately. As a run is going, you'll be responsible for monitoring for any potential technical hiccups, video feeds, and any issues with layouts. However, another feature available to you is being able to show tweets on the gameplay layout. You can see tweets available for pushing live on the Node CG dashboard under the Twitter panel. The tweets that are available to show are any tweets composed by the official GDQ account, or any tweets made by a third party that the GDQ account likes or retweets. Not all are relevant to being shown on stream, and it will be up to the producer and yourself to choose which to display and when you do so. To show a tweet, simply click the check mark next to it in the Twitter panel. It will display over the layout's sponsor area. If the layout does not have a sponsor area, you will not be able to show tweets during the speedrun. This is true of more than one layout, so make a note when the run begins whether it will be an option or not. As you come to the conclusion of the run, you'll need to be acutely aware of what constitutes a run finishing, and in the cases of a race, who is closest to finishing. If a player used a foot pedal to start, they should, in theory, use it to finish as well, but be ready to finish manually in case they forget. Traditionally, runners will loudly call time when a run is finished, but don't rely solely on this, as they can sometimes forget due to being focused on the run or simply not being used to doing so. Click on the Finish button for the respective player, and their time will be locked in. If you were late to click the button, work with other techs or the runner to edit the time to reflect the correct time. If you clicked Finish too early, and their run has not actually concluded, or you clicked on the wrong name, just click Resume, and their timer will pick back up and no time will be missed, even if all runners have completed according to the timekeeper. Congratulations! You have successfully operated the stream through a complete speed run. One new feature for Summer Games Done Quick 2018 is the addition of displaying fan art and other images on the break screen. Like the text tweets on the break screen and other layouts, these images are those that are liked or retweeted by the official Games Done Quick account. If a tweet has more than one image, they can all be previewed by clicking on the magnifying glass icon. If you wish to display the fan art on stream, click the check mark. In the case of multiple images, the graphic will play them as a slideshow. If you wish to queue multiple tweets to play in a sequence, click the check mark on additional images while the first is playing. They will form a queue to play in sequence without the graphic exiting. This functionality has also been added to text tweets as well. If you encounter any bugs, inform the producer immediately. They will have contact information for the on-call techs and are available 24/7. If you see or hear inappropriate behavior from anyone on the stream, inform your producer. They will make the call as to what course of action to take. And that's all the info that we have to cover. Thank you for taking the time to watch this entire video. If you have any questions about the tech station, your responsibilities, or more details about what we've discussed, have them ready to ask during your orientation session before the start of the marathon, and we'll see you there.